My name is Sarah Davids. I'm 27, and I always thought I knew exactly what love looked like. 4 years with David, engaged for one, wedding planned to the last detail, every Saturday morning, mapped out months in advance. The apartment smelled faintly of fresh flowers and waxed wood from the centerpiece rehearsal we'd done the weekend before. Everything should have felt perfect. Except it didn't. It started on a Tuesday afternoon, 2 months before the wedding. We'd just finished reviewing the last batch of invitations, 18 dozen envelopes meticulously addressed, and David's expression seemed off, distant, like he was somewhere else entirely. He fiddled with his cuff, then cleared his throat. "Sarah, we need to talk," he said. His voice carried that edge I'd come to recognize, the one that meant the words were already decided in his head, and I was merely an audience. I set down the pen, forcing a neutral tone. "What's going on?" "I've been thinking, with the wedding coming up so fast, I feel like I'm losing myself, like I haven't had time to just be me before committing to forever." The words landed like stones in my chest. My heart fluttered, trying to rationalize. Cold feet? That made sense, maybe, but something in his eyes, no. This was something else. "So, what are you saying?" I asked. "I need space," he whispered, almost apologetically. "Time to reconnect, with myself, with my best friend, before the wedding." I blinked, trying to process. "Space? How much space?" "Maybe a month. I'll stay at my friend's place. No contact. Just breathe." A month. A month. The wedding was 8 weeks away. My chest tightened. "Sarah, please," he said. "I need this now, before it's too late." Something in his voice made me hesitate. Not fear, but a gnawing suspicion. Was he being honest, or was this a story he had rehearsed, carefully timed to manipulate me into agreement? "Take all the space you need," I said finally, keeping my voice calm, neutral. Who was I to stop him from being himself, but my mind raced. Every detail, every deposit, every plan, every late-night conversation about tables, linens, menus. My stomach twisted as I realized how much of this I had covered myself. David left that evening, suitcase in hand, gave me a hug that felt more like a formality than warmth, whispered, "Thank you for understanding. I love you." And the door closed. Silence. I sat there for 10 minutes, absorbing it. Then I opened my laptop. I'd paid for almost everything. Not out of control, not because I was old-fashioned, just practicality. David's career as a junior architect barely kept him afloat. He'd saved what he could, but the deposits, venue, catering, photographer, DJ were all on me. My mind ran through the numbers. Venue, $8,500. Catering, $6,200. Photography, $3,000. DJ, $1,200. My dress alterations, a surprise gift from him, $850. My suit, $600. Total $20,350. Nearly a fortune for someone my age. And non-refundable within 60 days. We were at 58 days. I drafted a single, concise email to his parents, Patricia and Donald. No accusations, no drama, only facts. The deposits, the timeline, the potential implications of David's space. I sent it at 11:47 p.m., just before bed, my hands shaking slightly but steady. The next morning, the phone rang at 7:13 a.m. Donald. "Sarah, what the hell is this email?" he barked. "Morning, Donald," I said evenly. "Just keeping you informed of the wedding finances. Since the wedding is uncertain, you should know the deposits at risk." He was silent for a beat, then, $20,000. "You spent $20,000 on deposits? For my son's wedding? He's now taking a break?" "Yes," I said calmly. "He asked for space. I'm respecting that." "You're trying to manipulate him through us." "No, transparency," I replied. 2 months before the wedding, I thought it best you knew. The call ended, and I felt oddly relieved. Not because I had won, but because the reality was clear. David's space was more than pre-wedding anxiety. And then the messages started. 7 calls by noon, none answered. Finally, I sent a text. "You asked for space. I'm respecting it. Talk to your parents." The reply came back in all caps. "You sent my parents invoices? Are you serious?" "Yes, serious. Yes, because while David found himself, I found clarity. And something gnawed at me, an uncomfortable suspicion that his journey of self-discovery wasn't entirely solitary. Something else was at play, a subtle detail that felt wrong. 3 days later, his older sister, Claire, 31, called. I hadn't blocked her number. She'd always been reasonable. Sarah, what's happening? He's upset. Claire, your brother asked for space. I gave it. She sighed, almost conspiratorial. Between us, I think he's scared, but there's more to it. I saw him out the other night with someone else. My stomach dropped. What do you mean, someone else? Don't panic, but maybe check things. Just be careful. I ended the call, my hands trembling slightly, my mind spinning. What had I missed? What had he been hiding behind the words I need to find myself? The calm before the storm had passed. Something was coming. Something I couldn't ignore. The apartment felt emptier without him. Every corner echoed with small, invisible reminders. The toothbrush I brushed beside him, the coffee mug stacked in the sink, the faint scent of his cologne lingering in the hallway. He was gone, yet his presence pressed against me in every detail. I spent the first day like a ghost, moving through rooms on autopilot, replaying his words over and over. I need space to reconnect with myself. Space, self-discovery, time apart. The phrases echoed, each one like a small hammer striking the foundation of everything we had built. But beneath the surface, I began calculating. The deposits, the contracts, the non-refundable clauses. Every piece of this wedding I had personally paid for, every plan meticulously orchestrated, suddenly teetered on the edge of someone else's whims. By the evening, I had drafted a second email. This one went to David's parents, Patricia and Donald, outlining the financial commitments in detail, politely but firmly explaining the potential consequences if the wedding didn't happen. Sending it felt like stepping off a cliff. I didn't know if I was doing the right thing, but I couldn't pretend I was blind. Transparency was the only control I had left. Their reaction was swift and furious. Donald called almost immediately. Sarah, how dare you involve us like this? Donald, I'm not manipulating anyone, I said, keeping my voice calm. I'm just being clear. Your son asked for space 2 months before the wedding. I thought it was fair you knew the financial reality. You're punishing him. No, I said firmly. I'm protecting myself. I won't be left footing thousands of dollars while he explores himself. And there it was, the implication. The word he had chosen so carefully, space. Suddenly, I wondered if this was never about fear of commitment. Was it fear? Of me? Of us? Of something or someone else? The days blurred. David was unreachable, ghosting every attempt at casual conversation. He texted once in 3 days. Hope you're okay. Talk soon. 3 words that carried no reassurance. Then came the subtle signs. Small, almost invisible. A coffee shop I'd never visited appeared in his Instagram story, a shadowy figure in the background of a photo that looked too deliberate to be random. I shrugged it off at first. Just coincidence, I told myself. But by day 4, my unease had grown into suspicion. I began paying attention to patterns, times, locations. He wasn't just finding himself, he was curating a story. And in my gut, I knew there was someone else. Claire called again, hesitantly. Sarah, I don't want to overstep, but I think you need to know. There's someone. David, he's been spending time with her. Just be careful. Someone? I asked, keeping my voice steady. Who? I can't say, not yet, but I trust you'll notice the signs. He's not being honest with you, not fully. Her words landed like a hammer. I wanted to scream, to cry, to throw my phone across the room, but instead I felt the first flicker of clarity. This was not cold feet. This was premeditated, calculated. I started taking mental notes, replaying every conversation, every hesitation, every sudden change in mood. Everything that had felt like wedding stress now resembled a carefully constructed illusion, a mask for deception. And yet, the part of me that loved him, that had imagined our life together, still whispered, maybe he really does need this space. Maybe I'm overreacting. I tried to quiet that voice, but it kept pushing through, soft and persistent. I couldn't ignore it. Not anymore. By the end of the week, I had made a decision. I would watch. I would wait. I would collect the evidence without him knowing. Every social media story, every sudden disappearance, every suspicious text would be noted. I wouldn't act rashly. I would remain calm, rational, and poised. This was not about revenge. Not yet. This was about truth. And the truth, I suspected, was about to hit harder than I could imagine. The week dragged on like a slow storm. Every morning, I woke with a tightness in my chest. Every evening, I fell asleep replaying memories of us, laughing over dinner, arranging flowers, rehearsing vows, all now tinged with doubt. I started noticing patterns. David's self-discovery wasn't random. Every outing, every Instagram story, every vague text lined up too neatly with times I couldn't reach him. A coffee shop here, a bookshop there, places he discovered himself, but I had never been invited. Then came the undeniable proof. I had followed him on social media, of course, but he'd recently created a private account, supposedly for personal reflections. I had access through a mutual friend. I scrolled back cautiously, and there she was, a woman, laughing beside him in every photo that felt intimate but casual at first glance, hands brushing, shoulders touching, gazes lingering. The captions were vague, quotes about authentic self-love and finding your truth, but the images told a story I couldn't ignore. My chest tightened. I sat down, hand pressed to my mouth, trying to slow my racing heart. The betrayal wasn't subtle. It had been building for months, hidden behind the carefully chosen words. I need space. I called Trevor, a longtime friend of David's. He had seen David in public recently. Sarah, you're not going to like this. I saw David at a wine bar downtown, holding hands with some woman. Cozy, intimate, not just friendly. My stomach dropped. Thursday night, 2 days before he asked for space. Coincidence? Not anymore. I felt a strange calm settle over me. My anger was cold now, precise. I began gathering evidence, screenshots, photos, times, posts. Every detail I had ignored before became a small red flag. I called my cousin Kelsey, a lawyer. I didn't need legal advice yet, but I wanted clarity. Sarah, if someone backs out of a wedding, usually you're stuck with the deposits if they're in your name. Only exceptions are fraud or mutual agreement, she said. Good, because I'm going to document everything, I replied, my voice steady despite the heat of anger simmering beneath. By the next afternoon, I knew the pattern. David's space was a meticulously crafted story. He hadn't panicked. He hadn't stumbled into doubt. He had chosen this path, carefully plotting his exit while keeping me suspended in worry and hope. I tried calling him. He answered, smooth and casual. Hey, Jules, everything okay? I let him talk, listened, smiled, faintly, inwardly bitter. Every word, every excuse, only confirmed what I already knew. And yet, the part of me that loved him, the part that had imagined our life, the wedding, the children, whispered, maybe he'll regret it. Maybe he'll come back. But I no longer believed in maybes. I had the evidence, the patterns, the proof that he had orchestrated this entire finding himself narrative while pursuing someone else. The calm before the confrontation had passed. The storm was building, and I was ready. I just needed him to see it for himself. It all came to a head on a Sunday afternoon. The sky was a muted gray, the kind of overcast that mirrors every heavy thought inside. David's parents, Patricia and Donald, arrived first. Their faces were taut, their eyes carrying both concern and indignation. Behind them, standing awkwardly near the car, was the woman I had seen in the photos, David's supposed friend in the self-discovery narrative. I opened the door, heart pounding, but outwardly composed. Sarah, we need to talk, Donald said, voice careful. No, I think we already have, I replied evenly. The evidence is all here. The patterns, the stories, the photos. Your son isn't confused. He's deliberate. David stepped forward, trying to take my hand. I pulled back instinctively. The warmth I once associated with him was gone, replaced by the icy recognition that he had constructed an entire narrative to cover a betrayal. Sarah, please, I didn't mean... You didn't mean, I cut in sharply, you didn't mean to betray the person who trusted you, the person who planned an entire wedding for you? You didn't mean to pretend you needed space while secretly pursuing someone else? The woman near the car, uncomfortable now, shifted. David glanced at her, then back at me, realizing the illusion had been dismantled. I needed to understand myself, he stammered. Self-discovery? I echoed, voice rising. Is that what you call it? Holding hands in public with her, hiding it behind space? Do you think that's love? Do you think that's respect? Patricia stepped forward, trying to mediate. Sarah, maybe you're overreacting. He's young. He made a mistake. Not a mistake, I interrupted. A calculated series of choices. He planned this. Every coffee, every story, every word about finding himself. And now he expects me to just wait, trust, and forgive. Donald's face fell, his usual calm cracked by disbelief. David, son, this is serious. Sarah is right. David's shoulders slumped. He finally understood that the facade had crumbled. The woman by the car, who had looked nervous the entire time, now stepped back, realizing she was part of a story that wasn't hers. I never wanted to hurt you, he whispered, but the words felt hollow. I know, I said, my voice softer now, but unwavering. But intention doesn't erase action. You've shown who you are, and I've decided the wedding isn't happening. The deposits? Gone. I won't bankroll betrayal. Patricia gasped. You can't just throw away thousands of dollars. He's still your fiancé. I'm not throwing anything away, I replied. I'm reclaiming my dignity, my trust, and my life. If he wants to explore other options, fine, but I will not be complicit in someone else's self-discovery at my expense. David opened his mouth to protest, but I didn't give him the chance. I stepped back, letting the weight of my decision settle in the room. The silence that followed was deafening. The woman by the car, realizing the gravity, quietly walked away. David's parents lingered a moment longer, caught between defending their son and facing reality. Finally, they left, murmuring apologies and hesitant explanations, leaving David and me in the quiet apartment. I looked at him once more, feeling the last threads of attachment snap. This isn't about money or the wedding. It's about respect, about honesty. You made your choice. I'm making mine. He stood there, speechless, finally confronted with the consequences of his deception. I turned away, walking to the window, feeling the gray light spill across the room. For the first time in weeks, I felt clarity. Pain, yes, but clarity. That night, I started reclaiming myself. I canceled the vendors, documented everything, and began small personal rituals I had neglected, cooking a meal just for me, reorganizing the apartment, playing guitar again. I had lost the fantasy of the wedding, but I had regained the most important thing, control over my life. Weeks later, through mutual friends, I learned the rest. David's self-discovery had collapsed as quickly as it began. The woman he had pursued had an ex-girlfriend still in the picture. Plans crumbled. His life, like mine, would continue, but separately. And me? I was lighter, wiser, and more certain than ever. Some lessons are expensive, painful, and unforgettable. This was one of them. 6 weeks had passed since the wedding that never happened. The apartment felt different now. Not empty, but reclaimed. Every corner held traces of me again. Books stacked neatly on the shelves, candles flickering softly on the windowsill. A guitar leaned against the wall where it had been neglected for months. I, Sarah Davids, 27, had learned to move with intention rather than expectation. The days that followed David's departure had been strange, a mixture of relief, grief, and the quiet hum of liberation. Mutual friends, once invested in the drama, had either drifted away or realigned themselves. Social media, which had amplified the betrayal, faded into background noise. I blocked what needed blocking, deleted what needed deleting, and began curating my life around honesty and clarity. David's name still triggered a flicker of emotion. Anger, yes, but also a strange sense of empathy. I had loved him, truly. But love alone does not protect against deceit. I realized that sometimes people reveal who they are not through grand betrayals, but through the small, calculated choices they make when they think no one is looking. I even heard from Claire and Michelle, who had acted as quiet observers and occasional messengers. They shared updates. David and his friend had already fallen apart. Her ex-girlfriend had returned to claim her space in his life. Predictable, in a way, but it didn't bring satisfaction. Only confirmation that I had acted before being used. I also reflected on the financial side of the wedding. Nearly $20,000 lost to non-refundable deposits, a painful reminder of trust and commitment. But I didn't regret it. Every dollar represented a lesson, a tangible marker of boundaries respected, even at personal cost. The money could be regained, but integrity could not. In the weeks after, I began reclaiming joy, small and deliberate. A weekend cabin escape with friends, long bike rides through autumn leaves, quiet evenings strumming songs I'd forgotten I loved. Freedom felt like sunlight pouring through windows I had thought forever shuttered. Some nights I allowed myself brief contemplations about the wedding that never was, not with regret, but curiosity. What had it been? And what had it revealed about me? About love? About trust? I learned to distinguish between intention and action, words and choices. Finding oneself, I realized, was sometimes a euphemism for pursuing options at the expense of someone else, and I would no longer tolerate that in my life. I thought of David once more, not with longing, but with gratitude of a harsh kind. He had unveiled the truths I needed to see, accelerated growth I hadn't anticipated, and forced me to reckon with my own resilience. I, Sarah Davids, was no longer a fiancé lost in someone else's story. I was whole, cautious but open, scarred but wiser. Life would continue, beautifully imperfect, authentically mine. And for the first time in months, I smiled without hesitation. The wedding was gone. The betrayal was past. But what remained? Clarity, self-respect, and the unshakable knowledge of who I was would last a lifetime.